Hello people, Joshua Map here. Today I'll be doing episode 1 of Redstone Basics for all you people starting with Redstone. So let's get started. Oh, also sorry I haven't posted a video for a while. I have been having some crazy weeks at the moment. Alright, so today we are going, well, to start with, we'll be doing Redstone, the very basics, Redstone dust, a button, and levers. Alright. So a lever is basically a toggle switch, is either off or on signal. Okay, and then redstone dust is either has an on or off signal, so it feeds into blocks and will feed into different redstone devices. Will be used in any redstone contraption. It also has a signal strength. Now the signal strength, as you can see, decreases over time, eventually ending at 15 blocks and will not power anymore. There are ways of extending that life, and I will get to that shortly. Next we have redstone buttons. Now there's two types of buttons. There's the stone button and the wooden button. Now there is some differences. I'll start with the thing that they're both have in common. If you right click them, they will feed an on signal to their redstone dust that they're connected to, or any redstone device that they're connected to. Now the difference is, a stone button can only be affected by press from a player, whereas a wooden button can be affected from things like arrows, whereas the stone button won't take any effect. Also, the wooden button actually lasts longer when pressed than a stone button. But obviously that causes a risk if other things touch it, like falling sand will also activate it. Anyways, over here I have a little example of it in use. This is just uses inverse signal, so when that's on, these are off, and vice versa. Alright, so basically this is a very basic shooting range, and I am doing terribly because my frame rate is... Alright, as you can see, that one has a stone button, and no matter what I do, it will not turn on. Alright, so that's that. Moving on. Next we have the redstone repeater. Now this is a very useful redstone item. There's it. And it has quite a few uses. First of all, the main use, most common use, is to extend the life of redstone. As you can see here, just as it's on its 15 block, about to end power, you can make it feed into this redstone repeater, which will completely renew the signal and put it up to full strength again. Very useful, or often used in many different cases. Next most common use is delay. And as you can see here, it has quite a lot of delay compared to, well, obviously compared to normal redstone. You can see. Alright, so here's how the delay works. That has 1 tick of delay, and that is on default. It will always have 1 tick delay. There's no way to make it have 0 ticks of delay. So no matter what, a redstone repeater will cause a 1 tick of delay. Then this is 2 ticks, 3 ticks, and 4 ticks of delay, and each one causes slightly more delay. Alright, next most common use is feeding into the block in front of it. It's very specific about a redstone repeater. It is either facing that way or that way, and it gets power from the side where this is pointing, and it feeds power to that side. It doesn't work vice versa, and that's also a very good use about it, so you can see there. Now this specific example would actually work with normal redstone, but say you wanted, it was a big contraption and you had lots of wires everywhere and you had that there. As you can see, that would be completely affected and there's no way of blocking that, whereas if you put that there, that wouldn't affect this at all. So that's just one of the main uses, often used. Also, another difference between using just normal redstone and using a redstone repeater, as you can see, I'm feeding into this block, but that's not being powered. Whereas if I put a redstone repeater, it can power right through the block and into that. So that's... Next we have a not very common use, is locking the signal. Now, I haven't personally used this much, but it is just another feature. So it locks on the signal. The signal can't change that feeds into there. It can also lock on, and the signal won't change until you unlock it. So that's just another use. I just wanted to mention that. Also over here, we have just an example that it can't feed in backwards. So as you can see there. Alright, next I have set up a couple of examples. First, we have an extension over here, because all that redstone wouldn't ever fit in 15 blocks. So as you can see, there is a little bit of delay, unavoidable. Well, actually it is avoidable, but I won't be showing that in this episode. Next most common use, delay. Yep, there we are. Fantastic redstone. Over here I just have it feeding into these lights. And as you can see, yeah. Now this would of course work with normal redstone as well. But say I wanted to power these lamps here, as you can see they're not powered. I would have to feed a signal into this one, which, as you can see, would not work with normal redstone. Whereas if I put redstone repeaters here, powers no problem. So that's just something I want to point out. Alright, over here I have a good use of the fact that redstone runs out. As you can see here, I have 4 different levers, 4 different lights there. So, the signal strength is from here, it runs out over here, only powering this redstone repeater, only powering that one lamp. Which means, if this one goes, then the 2 will go, that one goes, they'll all go on. So it's quite useful for displaying scores and stuff without changing too much of the redstone. Alright, next we have one of my personal favorites and most used item, redstone torch. Very, very useful device. First of all, the most common use would be you doing the inverse. So, if power is fed into the block which a redstone torch is placed on, they will turn off. So, you can use that for the complete inverse of the operation of the signal that's being fed into it. That's also very useful. Here I've just illustrated it quite a lot. As you can see, these are both powered because that is right next to the redstone torch, so it's being powered. This is powered because this is powering up into this block, powering this block, and this is also powering up into here, and the redstone lamp's on there, so it's turning on. Now this is not on because it's not in any way connected to this redstone torch. So if I press this, all those would turn off, and the lamp, and that would turn off. But this is on because this is feeding power into this block, which is turning on the redstone dust. So that's just a good use of inverse. Over here we have a common use, but I don't personally use it much, is a very, very fast type of clock. Yeah. So what's going on over here? When I turn this off, one of these turns on. But when this is on, it powers this block of redstone again, and then that turns that off. And as you can see, we have a loop. Eventually these burn out, so that's why I have a couple, so that when one burns out, the next one starts again, and then it goes in a loop like that. So that's just a very fast type of clock. Alright, and I have a couple of examples over here. First, a good use of inverse. It can tell whether it's on or off, and both of them will feed a signal. So say when someone turns something off, something will happen as well, and when someone turns something on, of course, something would come on. Also over here, quite an interesting use is to make some locks. Now this is a very basic redstone lock system. Let's just hope I can remember the code. Voila. Now it has to be like this. If this one's on, off. If any one of these are not as they're supposed to be, this door will not be open. So this is basically how it works. So these have to be, this signal over here has to be off for this redstone torch to be on. Now these are off because these are powered. which means that these have to be powered, otherwise that won't be on. And these ones, this one, if it is powered, it turns this on, turning everything off. So a very simple, easy way of making a lock in Minecraft. And obviously that's a messy way of doing it. There you can neaten it up and stuff, but I didn't need to because I wanted to demonstrate. And over here I just had a little bit of fun with a feature I found with if a gravity block is falling and is goes into another block, it will destroy that block. So I made with the quick clock a little shredder. So as you can see, it completely shreds all this falling sand, and yeah, completely useless machine, but it was a bit of fun anyway. Alright, next we have redstone lamps and redstone pistons. Alright, so we have two different types of pistons. We have the normal piston and the sticky piston. That's okay. So this is being powered through there, that's why that's on. Now, the difference between these two. A normal piston, when it's on, it'll push up the block, which will happen with a sticky piston as well. But when it retracts, it will not keep the block with it. So it will be able to push, but it won't be able to pull back. And this can push up to 15 blocks. So it's useful for a couple of different things, but of course it only pushes up, it won't pull anything back. Whereas with the sticky piston, this block will stay on. What also works is if you have a block up there, it'll stick it with. Now what doesn't work is if you have two blocks, it will not stick with both blocks. It'll only stick with the block it's attached to. And also same with that. Alright, so that's the redstone piston. I can't tell much more about that. Then redstone lamp, quite simple. If the signal's on, they will emit light, otherwise they won't. Here's a bit of inverse, so you can use this, attach this to a clock and make a fancy barber's thing or whatever. Alright, over here I have a good use of a normal piston. Now it's quite useful to use this as a on and off thing with just using buttons. So it's turning a button thing into a lever sort of system. So because when I press this, it will push this block forward, powering this, but this will stay on because this won't retract back and it'll stay on forever. You could often this will be used like this, and you would have an off button as well, which would turn whatever was turned on off. So that's just a nice way of making things happen only once, or have on and off buttons as buttons. Alright, over here I have may put together a little course to show you guys the uses that you can use a sticky pistons, and redstone lamp. I don't think I want to jump in there, so I'm just going to hit the button. Now these were made of normal pistons, so this will not retract. Now I can walk safely across. Obviously using a sticky piston would be quite interesting running across here before it closes again, but obviously this long wouldn't work, but for obstacle courses and stuff that would be really useful. Right, over here I have two redstone lamps. They just tell when the door's open and when it closes. So this is a basic redstone door, uses sticky pistons and is powered over here using inverse, as you can see, because it's powered at the moment, and when you press the button it turns off. So that's a good use of inverse as well. Alright, so let's go on. Whoa! Alright, looks like I've fallen in this little hole here. Let's just flip the switch. Alright, there we are. Redstone is awesome. I like this sign. Very honest sign. Alright, so that's it for this episode. I will be making quite a few other episodes. If you have any suggestions or what I should do next, you're welcome to post them in the comments below. This has been Joshua Mapper, your personal guide to Redstone. Bye for now.